Like almost like somebody cut it, welded it.
Well, according to the internet, I bought a fake E30 M3, and while I'm not familiar with these cars, well, I hope it's not fake. I bought this car a few months back when I picked up my trailer that I refurbished. Nice. And so far it's just been sitting here, but I have a lot of work to do in this video. I've got a ton of suspension, I've got reinforcements, coilovers, powder coating. There's a lot to do in this video, but first I gotta make sure that this thing is real, because if it's not real, well, I just wasted a lot of money. As stated, the car hasn't moved since I got it home. I haven't done a thing with it, and that's simply because I've been busy with all the other projects on the channel. But that all changes today. The entire suspension on this car needs to be rebuilt, and actually what's on the car now is forelug, and that brings up a whole nother line of issues that we'll get into a little bit later. Now, with all these cars that I have, you guys know I have no room in my garage whatsoever, and where the car was, it prevented me from pulling into the garage with the actual running and driving cars. So I had to get it moved over, and I want to get it up on the lift, up on quick jacks or really tall jacks, because I'm going to be doing a lot of work underneath this thing in the coming weeks. It's almost like I simply have too many projects, but that's a topic for another video. But once me and Donald got it in the garage, I gave it a quick cleanup, and then I had to move all the suspension parts back in front of the E30 just so I could get the 997 in the garage, and then we can start tearing the suspension apart, and let me show you everything I got. Way easier to get the car in that bag. I've had a few E30s in my day, but never an M3, so I'm unfamiliar to this car. And when I posted on the internet, what should I do to 5-lug swap this car, I got absolutely destroyed by you guys because I didn't realize E30 M3s came with 5-lug suspension from the factory. The problem is, mine's 4-lug. However, it did come with all of what appears to be the OEM E30 M3 suspension, so that's good news. All this needs torn apart and welded though. I've got the welder and I've got the table, but they're unusable right now, so I need to clean that up, and I also need to get the 997 out of the garage because I don't want to damage that doing all this work on the M3. For a few years now, I've actually had this TIG welder, and I've been wanting to learn how to TIG. I actually practiced a decent amount of times a few years back, and then it completely fell off the wagon, but I'm going to get back into it today. So I need to learn how to TIG, and the best way to learn is to, well, get a project that needs welding, and there's a lot of welding that I have to do to this car today. And I will be using the MIG as well, because some things you just can't really get with a TIG, so there'll be a little bit of both kinds of welding today. Huge shout out to Condor Speed Shop for supporting me in this crazy adventure of the E30 M3. A huge thanks to Condor, who are helping me out on this build. They sent all this stuff out for the E30, and there's also going to be some more stuff in the future. But as far as today is concerned, we're using all of their parts to reinforce this rear subframe. I'm about as far from an expert on E30 M3s as anyone you'll come into. However, I do have enough knowledge to kind of explain and prove that this is in fact a real E30 M3. And to do so, I'm going to compare it to my 318i. You can see the obvious differences. The fenders are completely different, but the biggest difference, and I think the biggest challenge to making a fake M3, would be the rear seat pillars. They are completely different. They use a different rear window, a different trunk. That would be super hard to replicate. And on top of all of that, of course, you have the front and rear bumpers, the side skirts, and the wide body fenders, which my M3 has. And most importantly, of course, are the VINs. All three VINs I found on this car match, and they all start with WBS. And of course, the VIN comes back to a 1989 BMW M3. So all signs point to this is a legit M3.
The VIN may say WBS, but there's no BS here.
Who thought that was funny?
So I think if you combine all those things, we can indeed confirm this is a real E30 M3. It's not a replica. If it was a replica, someone did a lot of work to change every little thing to make it look exactly like an E30 M3. So good news there. Now let's go on to the projects, because there's a lot of them. Magic Spoon makes the absolute best cereal I've ever had. Best of all, there's no sugar and 13 grams of protein per serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, naturally flavored, and totally delicious. This flavor here, birthday cake, is phenomenal. Actually, all the flavors are phenomenal, and they make a ton of them. Birthday cake, maple waffle, peanut butter, frosted, cocoa, fruity, cinnamon roll. Delicious, 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 delicious. Use code MattRoss or click the link in the description to try Magic Spoon cereal today and get $5 off. You can also find it in your nearest grocery store. They're so confident in their product, it's backed by a 100% happiness guarantee online, so if you don't like it for any reason, you'll get a refund of your money, no questions asked. Magic Spoon is the way to go. And I've got a discount for you guys in the description box, or this QR code here that'll save you $5. Huge thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video, and more importantly, for making delicious freaking cereal. I guess it's time to weld. Oh, I gotta do all the prep first, but then it's time. The rear subframe might look a little worse for wear, but that's all right because it's going to get sandblasted and powder coated after I get the reinforcements in. I'm going to start with what I hope is the easiest one, and it's going to be some good practice with the TIG. And before TIG welding the actual subframe reinforcement, Tim and I are going to do a little practice welding on a spare sheet of steel I have laying around.
You have to get a good puddle before you can start moving it.
Wow, I might be a professional. There you go, give it a whirl. All right, I'll try a little bit. You try a little bit.
How's it look?
Well, by golly.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. It's just like all this is so much work when you could have just MIG'd it and been done.
The whole thing.
We'd be done with everything.
And it would look good.
Can't wait to get roasted in the comments just for something. So like, I think this looks great. This is way better than I would ever expect it. To the surprise of both of us, both of our TIG welds were looking pretty nice. I was happy with them. I don't know if I can match that professional weld. I just keep going until I run out of gas. This is tricky. So now it's time for the easy machine.
We're basically professionals.
It's welded and it's not going anywhere. Roast us in the comments all you want. This is good practice. However, we're gonna save those tricky parts for the MIG welder because, well, it's just plain easier.
Why can't you do that with a TIG welder?
So nice. Next up are some trailing arm reinforcement brackets from Gargastic. Do I think I really need these? No. Is it good practice? Yes.
Go ahead.
The only problem was my MIG gun was giving me some problems. I don't know why after you would weld for a couple of seconds or minutes, it would just start splattering everywhere.
If you're not a good welder, you better have a grinder.
It definitely isn't the fault of the probably $150 Harbor Freight welder. And we couldn't figure out why. So if you see some really bad looking MIG welds, it's because of the machine. At least that's what I'm going with. I don't know why we didn't TIG these plates on to begin with. It's a nice, easy, open area, so Tim switched back to the TIG. I did some TIGging, and that fixed the problem. I actually got some pretty good welds here. There we go.
Looking good?
I figured that one out.
Nice. How'd you do that?
I don't know. I think I could have kept going, but I'm dying from heat and smoke.
Yeah, it like gets in your mask.
That was far too easy.
That was way easier.
For the rear shock tab mounts on the trailing arms, we did switch back to the MIG and we turned it up the whole way because there was no way we could get into the nooks and crannies with the TIG. At least not with my skill set. Are these the prettiest welds? No, but you can't expect that from me, a complete amateur at TIG welding and with a Harbor Freight MIG machine. But I think once these are sandblasted and powder coated, they'll look pretty darn nice. That's a whole lot of reinforcement done, but I still need to do the sway bar mounts and the front subframe. And for a little mid-video surprise, here are the coilovers going on the M3. Yes, they are the best of the best Bmw E30s, and one of the greatest parts about these coils is they have the knuckles built in. No cutting, welding, or grinding of your old knuckles to fit new coilovers. These have it all built in. Absolutely amazing. Can't wait to get these things installed. But now I need to get back to fully tearing down all of the knuckles and the trailing arms and all that, because I got to replace everything that's on there essentially. The bushings, the wheel bearings, all that stuff. And it's not going to be fun. Reason being, I want to replace everything and make it new, but also for powder coating, I can't have a wheel bearing in there. I can't have trailing arm bushings in there. It's all got to come out. Got it, and nobody died. Not ideal, but it is moving. A press would be best, obviously, but I don't have that. Yeah, buddy. Got him. Daddy don't need no press. Now I'm gonna see if I can get an assortment of all thread nuts and washers to get the bushings out. Well, it's sort of working, but that's really bent. Now what I'm hoping is, as this heats up, the force from this may just actually push it out. Cool. That's 1 out of 4. The only issue is, I have a whole nother one to do. Get out. Yeah. Woo, buddy, let's go. Don't need a freaking press around here. I just need to take 10 times as long as it would if I had a press. Tomorrow, Matt can deal with this giant mess because that's enough for tonight. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, today Matt really wishes yesterday Matt cleaned all this up.
Now we're not done with the welding quite yet. I still have the rear sway bar reinforcements to weld in. I've got to take the entire front end apart and do the front subframe reinforcements. The list goes on, so there's a lot of work in front of me. In order to finish up the welding, I've got to get the 997 out of here. It's 10 o'clock at night. Sorry, neighbors. You know what, I may be able to just do this by hand so I don't wake the neighbors. Yep, come on, Bessie. Couldn't have stopped at a worse spot. There we go. Ah, such a good car. I didn't install these sway bar reinforcements before, well, simply because I totally forgot about them, and I honestly thought these went on the subframe for some reason. The sway bars mount right here to this rather thin sheet metal on the rear trailing arms. Luckily, this is a pretty easy spot to access with the welder, but I'm going to use the MIG anyway. I need to wrap this project up. That's not too shabby. I'm pretty happy with that. See, when the welder cooperates, it's really not too shabby, right, guys? At least I don't think that's too shabby. I just wish this thing worked better. If you have suggestions on a welder, please leave me a comment below. What do you think, guys? Not great, but not terrible. It'll certainly hold. All right, onto the front subframe. which of course is, you know, still in the car. I know the subframe is loose to the car, but I don't know about the control arms and all of that stuff. We'll see how this goes. Look at those brakes. Those are sweet. That was easy. Oh boy, and there's a whole bunch of E30 front suspension stuff that's absolute trash. I imagine all this is going in the dump, save for maybe the steering rack, but I don't know what steering rack that's from. There it is. Oh yeah, okay. And there's the nice overspray. I'm assuming all this stuff is from a 325 or something like that, so it's all gonna get tossed. Minus the subframe. I obviously need the subframe, and as far as I can tell from my research, all the subframes are the same on E30s. So, next up, let's weld in the reinforcements on said subframe. Ah, crap. Boy, it is hot, and I'm dirty. I made a boo-boo. I got the right subframe engine mount reinforcements, but I forgot the front sway bar reinforcements. So the point was to get everything done and welded, send the stuff off for powder coating, but now I gotta order those sway bar mount reinforcements. And they go right here. So obviously, I can't send it off for powder coating without having that done as well. Ah, that's annoying. So I'm gonna try to look at the positive side. This gives you guys a chance to comment on powder coating color. I was just gonna go matte black. I might be open to some other colors. Do you guys have suggestions? Something subtle. So if you have good suggestions for powder coat colors, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for the likes and comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. We'll see you in the next video. I'm freaking exhausted.